The club, the wheel, the mind. Sorry to be absent on Tuesday. I woke up feeling very ill and went to the doctor. Those of you who know me personally know what it takes for me to admit I need a doctor. Anyway, I'm now medicated, which will hopefully put an end to the creeping crud that has been extending in one form or another since before Christmas. The following post is being echoed at Mad Genius Club. When I'm sick, let's just say that my respiratory system is a walking liability. I can't read fiction. This is part of the reason I've fallen so far behind on my fiction reading. It doesn't seem to be a rare affliction. When you're sick, you can't handle emotion, and, of course, all good fiction is emotion. However, I can't stop reading. Reading is what gets me through the stupid stuff that must happen in life, like washing dishes, cooking, cleaning. I have yet to figure out how to read in the shower. Someone must make a better, waterproof aerator. So, instead of fiction, I read non-fiction. The more tired sick I am, the drier my reading material. Years ago, when pneumonia put me in the hospital ICU for 11 days, I read a collection of 19th century biology manuals. No, you probably don't want to ask. And I know I'm at least becoming somewhat more human because I either start having story ideas, or I start figuring out how what I'm reading applies to some aspect of writing. This last month and a half, as I've been spiraling deeper and deeper into illness, and no, I don't even know if it's the same illness or a succession of respiratory bugs, I've been reading about the pursuit of the Indo-European language and culture. Yes, this morning I finally decided enough was enough, and this afternoon I dragged self to doctor, and I'm now medicated. While I'm still not substantially better, except the fever must be down, because my head is clearer in the up points of the Zerbug sequence, I've been able to realize what I'm reading is both a wonderful seed for stories, possibly a setting for a series of novels, which has deviled me. My last run at it was 15 years ago, when I was definitely not ready, and, more importantly, a world-building tool. What I've been reading, particularly, which attempts the reconstruction of an ancient culture that might have been homogenetic, but was almost certainly heterogenetic, same or different genetic heritage, might have been located over a region or another, and might have worked out one way or another, has made me realize how things are connected. Things we don't tend to think about. No, I don't know how much their guesses are true, but I do know that there are certain rules that tend to apply, and that these archaeologists use them to reconstruct a culture just like a paleontologist reconstructs a dead animal from a loose tooth. Will they sometimes be wrong? Oh, yeah, heck, yeah. Remember the dinosaurs that have changed name or shape as more has been found out about them. But still, there are certain things that apply. If you find a certain shape of tooth, you know you're dealing with an herbivore, for instance. And if you find human craniums with largely cavity-free teeth, you know you're dealing with a culture whose diet was low on carbohydrates. Oh, there might be some genetic freak that keeps them from getting cavities, but, more than likely, you're dealing with a diet based on protein. The same goes for population replacement, for instance. One population disappears, another comes in. Was it war? Maybe. Sometimes you do find a population where the graves show women of the previous population and men of the new one. You could be dealing with a rape of the Sabine situation. Alternately, you could be dealing with some elaborate treaty and bride price, and perhaps the men of the tribe moved elsewhere to marry women from the other tribe. Yeah, that wouldn't be total, but these graves never represent everyone, just the powerful families. And then there's that too, what was powerful at the time. What was wealthy. A man is buried in a grave that would require immense labor with only a few shards of pottery and a dagger. Was it because the culture was terribly poor, or were the gifts symbolic? You only know by comparing to smaller graves of the same culture. I'm not going to go into details, but it is important, not just for historical fiction, but for science fiction, and even for fantasy, to think through these details. What does my culture use for transport? For instance, limits how far your character can travel. That much is obvious. But it will also limit the ideas of the world, how far her parents married, how many languages there are in the immediate vicinity, what they eat, and possibly how they pray. What do they eat? Again, limits or shapes what the culture is like. If they are mostly agriculturalists, their culture will be different from if they are pastoralists. And if they are pastoralists with frequent cattle raiding, which also correlates to weapons, the culture is yet different. And if they eat mostly stew, you're caught in the tough guide to Fantasyland. I confess that even with as much as I know about history and how cultures evolve, and how economics influences daily life, I've caught at least a couple of mistakes I've made in one of my cultures, where they could not possibly be settled agriculturalists with those habits. We live in a time where the world is our backyard, where food of all seasons and all continents is available to us, and transport is cheaper and easier than it's ever been. This divorces source from event in our minds, so that we have trouble creating even complex future cultures. Of course, the classic work with everything integrated is Legin's The Left Hand of Darkness. I'm not saying I don't have problems with some of her extrapolations. I do. She and I come from widely different philosophical traditions, and that always shows. Also, though I liked it originally, the presentation itself now seems incredibly dated to me. But at least she tried to show a culture integrated in all facets of myth and daily living and its natural environment. And managed to hint at a full-fledged society, which of course never fits in a book. What is your favorite such example? Do you have one? What would you like to see? How do you think archaeology can help us learn world building? If you like this content and want to support this channel, the blog, and Sarah's continued writing, please like and subscribe. If you really enjoy the content, please come and join the fun at accordingtohoot.com.